Welcome, folks. Today we're going to ask ChatGPT the uncomfortable questions about video games, and we're going to use some broader subjects to boil it down to video games. And I also want to specify that this is ChatGPT. This is not a therapist. This is not any kind of advice or anything, but we're going to delve into some mental stuff here with ChatGPT. So take what ChatGPT says with a grain of salt. But we're gonna ask the questions regardless because ChatGPT is just a bot. It's an AI. It's gonna analyze the data present on the internet and it's gonna give you some answers. Whether these answers are something that is true or not, I do not know, and you should take again this with a grain of salt. So let's go ahead and talk about video games. So why do we play video games? For some is escapism from a bad situation. It's their little oasis of peace. For others, it's just addiction to dopamine. And for others, it's just a challenge. For others, it's just a sense of community. There are many different reasons why we play video games. But there are some marketing strategies that you can see that will allow you, developers and publishers to maximize profits. So let's begin by asking the questions. ChatGPT, are video games, are modern video games, video, I can type video games, are modern video games, addictive? Modern video games can be addictive for some people, though the extent varies greatly depending on the individual, game design, and personal circumstances. Several factors contribute to the potential for addiction in modern video games. Game design features reward system, social connectivity, progression system, live services, and immersive environments. So many games are use intermittent reinforcements, unpredictable rewards, to keep players engaged. The psychological mechanism is similar to what makes gambling addictive. So modern games can be addictive. Now, they do not, I don't think, my opinion is that they can probably trigger you some kind of relapse or something. I think. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. Again, I'm just, you know, trying to reason around this thing. And the reason we make this kind of, we see this kind of games and developers use this kind of systems is because they keep you engaged. Because according to ChatGPT, it's a mechanism similar to what makes gambling addictive. Social connectivity, like I said, online multiplayer games allow players to form friendships and communities, which can make living the game feel like abandoning its social ties. That's very true. MMORPGs used to do that. We don't see that again anymore in MMORPGs because we have Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We have all these social media that have replaced um, uh, MMORPGs. Progression system, games with a leveling system, achievements or unlockable contents create a sense of accomplishment, motivating players to keep playing. Now, this is not related to dopamine as the reward system up here. I think this is something that triggers some kind of gratification after you accomplish something, whether you struggle for it or not. It's like beating a boss in Dark Souls or going through the entire area and beat a boss, and you feel that sense of relief, of peace, that you have actually accomplished something. So that's what it's used as a progression. That's why you go kill a boss, go into the next area. Live services, regular updates, events, and time challenges encourage players to log in frequently to avoid missing out. This is the much discussed fear of missing out in gacha games. It's a live service. You go there, you have like 20-30 days to complete the event, which is usually more than enough to complete it. They're very lenient with that because it's a casual game, but still it's a strategy. Live and then immersive environments, high quality graphics, engaging storylines, and detailed worlds can make games captivating and hard to step away from. Well, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing. I mean, if something is very, this is what I think. If something is immersive, it makes you remember that experience. So when you say 1 year from now, you will remember the first time you entered into that era and you went, wow, like, and that's actually a good thing because it leaves you something. The game leaves you something, like other games. I don't know, like The many survivors like a game that actually leaves you with nothing but just, bad things. Personal and environmental factors, escape from reality, like I said. Oh, man, it's like ChatGPT actually listened to my microphone. Games can serve as a distraction from stress, anxiety, or other personal issues. We already knew that. Lack of balance without boundaries, players might prioritize gaming over other responsibilities or activities. That's because gaming triggers the child within us. So, men, children, that's what gamers are usually, right? We have very few, we don't have a big sense of responsibility because we play games. If we had, we would do things in real life that we need to do, like working on games specifically. Not that I'm mentioning myself. Psychological traits. People with certain personality traits, such as impulsivity or susceptibility to reward seeking behaviors, may be more prone to gaming addiction. The role of technology. Accessibility. With mobile devices, consoles, and PCs, games are more accessible than ever. That's true. I remember back in the day, well, we still had in Italy, we had shops that would blatantly pirate games. I remember this shop, I'm not gonna name it, but you will pick up the box of the game. They will go behind. Sometimes they forget to close the door, and you will see them put the discs. Yes, floppy disk. I don't know if you guys ever saw those, but they were square things. Floppy disk there, and they will come out with other floppy disks, and you will like, bro, okay, I don't know. And yeah, later in the 90s, we got copyright laws, so big boxes began to flock into the shelves. But prior to that, let's just say that in Italy it was wild. Wild. You go to I don't know if you have them in your country, but we had like mini shops outside in the street. They will sell magazines, and these magazines would have cassette tapes for Commodore 64 games and Spectrums. There will be all games there. They just had to change the names. For instance, Montezuma, which is an old game, we had it with a different name, and that way it was not copyrighted. That's insane. Anyways, potential consequence: physical health. Well, we don't care about those, right? Social and professional. We all, this is like common sense. Okay, we know that. Mitigate, we don't care. Recognizing gaming disorder. World Health Organization recognizes gaming disorder as a condition characterized by impaired control over gaming, prioritization of gaming over other is. Okay, would you like advice on managing gaming habits or more? No, I don't. Thank you, ChatGPT. I don't need to verify that I'm 42 years old. Thank you, ChatGPT, though. I'm pretty sure you can surmise how old I am by looking at my data, which you probably have. So let's say that video games make you susceptible to these things. So um, let's delve deeper. Uh, do you think, let's ask GPT's opinions. Do you think the reward, the dopamine rush can manipulate companies, let's say just in developers, because it's more of an indie thing, because AAA companies don't need you to be addicted to dopamine, but let's just keep it uh, general. Can manipulate game developers into uh, focusing on games, on making games, making, is that a G? Yes, making games um, purely based on this system. Yes, the dopamine-driven mechanics in games can influence developers to design experiences that can capitalize on reward systems, potentially steering the industry towards creating games optimized for engagement rather than artistic or innovative value. This trend is both an economic strategy and a reflection of psychological insights being leveraged in product design. Here's a breakdown of how this dynamic unfolds. Economic incentives, retention and monetization. Games that keep players engaged longer and returning frequently are more likely to generate consistent revenue through microtransactions, subscriptions, or advertisement. Investor pressure. Companies, especially in the free-to-play market, prioritize profit over creative freedom. leading to a focus on addictive gameplay loops. This is true, and this is what the survivor genre capitalizes on. Addictive gameplay loop. Of course, they do not profit from that because there are no microtransactions, but you're still investing your time. I think time has a value, regardless of your ego and self value, but everybody has value in their time. It's a fixed resource. Once it's over, it's over. Okay, you don't get it back, you cannot generate time. Invested time in a game that harms your health and doesn't leave you anything, it's it's a problem. I think ChatGPT should mention this. Variable reward, psychological mechanics. Features like loot boxes and randomized drop mimic the mechanics of slot machines, triggering dopamine spikes when players receive unexpected rewards. So, um, gacha games, obviously. Playing a gacha games and engaging in the gacha system is like playing a slot machine. There is absolutely no difference. It's the same thing. It doesn't use real money unless you spend money in there, which is another problem. And the first purchase is usually very cheap. So you are now invested, you're going to spend money. And this thing is also true for the survivor genre, which is something I despise and hate personally. Exactly for this reason. It's a slot machine and it triggers dopamine spikes. It leaves you with nothing. There is no sense of accomplishment that actually makes you go, man, I remember that day when I beat, I don't know, whatever levels. There's nothing. And yeah, it's I think it's bad. I think it's a bad example and a bad, trend that we're seeing in games, especially indie games. Progress bars and milestones, yeah, whatever. System that provides visible progression, such an unlocking system, such as leveling up or unlocking achievements, creates satisfaction loops that encourage players to continue playing. Now, this is not necessarily a bad game, and this either. It's the way you use them. If you balance out dopamine and the gratification you get after the thing and the experience, if you balance those things, it's fine. But if your game only aim for one thing, it's probably a problem. And yeah, behavioral data, A/B testing, developers use data to actually fine-tune reward schedules, difficulty levels, and their user interface to maximize engagement. Personalized experiences, algorithms may adjust gameplay to suit individual preferences, ensuring that players stay engaged longer. Potential downsides. This is the most important thing. Loss of creativity. Developers may focus less on storytelling, innovation, or unique gameplay mechanics, and more on optimizing engagement metrics, which is what you see all these game devs, YouTubers, they pop out and tell you the most marketable thing and this and that, how to make 5 tips for this, 5 tips for that. It's all a big market that doesn't care really about games. I don't think indie games care much about games. It's more like a bling thing that you do to be famous, to be the next Stardew Valley, the next Vampire Survivor, the next whatever. I don't think most indie devs have a passion for games, personally. I think most indie devs are here because they saw a video, they want to make games. And it shows. Player burnout. While dopamine-driven systems can hook players, they might also lead to frustration, fatigue, or disillusionment over once the novelty wears off. Ethical concerns. Some games exploit vulnerable populations, including children and individuals prone to compulsive behaviors. Monetization schemes tied to dopamine systems, such as loot boxes, have been compared to gambling. So this is not that much of a problem when you're dealing with adults, because there is the money barrier. Well, in today's age, parents are responsible for kids having these problems because parents should not give kids money ever, and especially in games. So there is some kind of fault that you have to attribute to parents, I think. But I think that this is a big problem, especially with games that are cheap. And like for this, the survival genre is cheap, but even kids can play these games. These games can are have been compared to gambling, and even though it's free, the effect on your brain is the same. It's just that it's free, so you know, it's free, and you don't win anything. At least in gambling, you win something sometimes, which is less than what you win because the house always win. Impact on the industry, reputation, overemphasis, and we don't care about that. Nobody cares about reputation, given the fact that we still buy the crap that from AAA companies put out. So, all right, player-centric design. Developers can create games that are engaging without exploiting dopamine loops by focusing on narrative depth, meaningful choices, and skill-based progression. Games like Celeste, Hollow Knights, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild emphasize artistry and player agency over addictive mechanics. Now, these are all famous games that inspire a lot of game developers to make other games, but they're like the exception to the rule. It's three games. Industry-wide conversation about responsible practice can encourage. Yeah, we don't care about that. Final thoughts. The drive to leverage dopamine systems reflect the broader tension between art and commerce in the gaming industry. While it's understandable that developers want their games to be engaging, relying too heavily on psychological tricks risk turning gaming into a formulaic pursuit of profits rather than a medium for storytelling, creativity, and innovation. That is actually true. Would you like to explore example of games that balance engagement and artistry or discuss ways for No, I want to ask. So, let's take for instance, more is it worth developing a game with good game design or a poor game design game focused on dopamine bursts? The choice between developing a game, yeah, it's going to be a moral thing, we know. Primarily on dopamine bursts depend on your goals, values, and intended audience. However, in the long run, developing a game with good game design tends to be a better choice for sustainability, reputation, and impact. Here's the breakdown to help evaluate the decision. Developing a game with good game design. Prioritize a cohesive experience with meaningful mechanics, balanced difficulty, and engaging storytelling. Offers intrinsic rewards where enjoyment comes from gameplay exploration or personal achievement rather than intrinsic triggers like random rewards. Encourages replayability through depths rather than manipulative retention mechanics. Longevity, player loyalty, artistic and this is all good. This is very utopic from ChatGPT. Games with good game design have often enduring appeal as they stand out for their quality and originality. Example like Minecraft, The Legend of Zelda, Dark Souls have long lifespans due to thoughtful design. These were also different times when these games came out. We need to take history into account, ChatGPT. You can't just throw names and, oh, this game, point the fingers at the game. But you need to realize that there were different times. When Dark Souls came out, the attention span of player was higher. And it was not yet a glorified genre. It was a new one, and we had actually longer attention spans. A well-designed game can cultivate a dedicated fan base. Developing a game focused on dopamine bursts relies on intrinsic motivators such as loot boxes, blah blah blah. We know that short-term profitability, high retention rates, and markets that can generate significant revenue quickly, especially in the free-to-play market, scalability, broad appeal. Dopamine bursts attract casual players and those seeking quick, enjoyable experience. Reputation risk of reliance on manipulative mechanics can lead to player backlash, regulatory scrutiny, or a negative studio image. Key consideration, blah blah blah. Final thoughts. While dopamine-driven games can deliver quick profits, they are often perceived as disposable, leading to diminishing returns. On the other hand, good game design builds a lasting legacy, fosters community, and enriches the gaming medium. In a crowded market, a thoughtfully designed game stands a better chance of long-term success and cultural relevance. If you're aiming for sustainability, and I'm not aiming for anything, investing in a good game design is likely to the more worthwhile approach. Would you like advice? No, I don't want advice. Okay, if what you say is true, um, if what you say in your final thoughts is true, then how come good game design games, video games, so he understands, have less reviews on Steam than um, than bad game design video games relying on dopamine bursts. The disparities in reviews between good game design games and dopamine-driven games can be often attributed to differences in audience reach, engagement patterns, and marketing strategies rather than. Thank you. Yeah, sure. I was reading those, so yeah, that's great. Here's a deeper analysis rather than the quality of the games, of course. Yes, of course. Obviously, it's the disparity is not between the quality of the game. The disparity is somewhere else. Good job, ChatGPT. That's what I was trying to get to. The dopamine-driven games, these games often appeal to a broader audience, including casual gamers because of their simple mechanics, flashy rewards, and low barrier to entry. Many are free to play, removing cost as an obstacle, which attracts a large number of players who might leave reviews even if their engagement is short-lived. Good game design games typically cater to a niche or dedicated gamers who appreciate depth, challenge, or narrative. Often premium prices require more time investment, limiting their initial player base compared to the free-to-play dopamine-focused games. And as an example, I recently looked at the reviews for games like Satellite Rain, um, Invisible Incognita, and what was the other one? I forgot. It was another game. But if you look at these indie games, they have far less reviews. Oh, Jagged Alliance back in action. These games have very few reviews, often in the thousands, and they are absolutely 10 times better than the other games I looked at. I was looking at Zero Sievert, I was looking at Stone Shard, I was looking at, well, Stone Shard is not really one of those games, but let's just leave, um, or the survival genre. Vampire Survivor is sitting at what, 200,000 reviews? The survival genre is bloating. Everything is going up, and the good games from indie developers are being left in the shadows with very few reviews. So, if what ChatGPT says is true, why would it be work for long term? I don't think long term is sustainable if you don't get money out of it, because I think reviews are a portion of your sales. Anyways, engagement and reviews incentives. Dopamine-driven games, built-in systems encourage frequent play and social sharing, leading to more reviews. Players often feel compelled to share their experiences early, whether out of excitement or frustration, creating a large volume of reviews. Players may take longer to complete or fully experience these games before leaving reviews. The audience for these games might also be less inclined to leave reviews, viewing the experience as personal or self-contained rather than something to broadcast. Marketing and visibility. Dopamine-driven games heavily marketed to maximize initial player acquisition, often through ads, influencers, or collaborations. This, what we're reading now, is extremely crucial in what we're going to ask ChatGPT next. Influencers or collaborations. Influencers are the people that you revere. The YouTuber, the I'm sure he doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit. The Asmongold, the Splattercat Gaming, the who else does games? Everybody, let all the big guys that make cash. Everybody, even the smallest YouTube channel, they are all influencers. And what this means is that dopamine-driven games, like those jumping puzzle games, if you've seen some of Markiplier games, Markiplier is funny, by the way. You watch him for his personality, not for the game he plays. But those games are catering exactly to these YouTubers. So they have a big reach. People see these games and they purchase these games. Rely on user metrics like reviews to gain visibility, so developers may actively encourage reviews through in-game prompts or incentives. Good game design games, marketing budgets are often smaller, especially for indie titles, leading to less visibility and fewer players overall. These games rely more on organic growth through word of mouth and critical acclaim. But how do you get word of mouth in a society that relies on influencers? This is a contradiction. I mean, it's not a contradiction, but it's rather a moot point. It's like, hey, do you want a negative or do you want a positive for your finances? Because this is a negative, word of mouth. You have to be extremely lucky in the sea of games that get released every day to be noticed by people who actually share your game with others. Critical acclaim, that's bullshit because we know reviewers cannot be trusted by the critics. So this is a weird take. It's in a utopic world, this is true. In the real world, this is not very positive. Monetization strategies, we don't care, player expectation and behavior. Dopamine-driven games, players often enter with lower expectation for quality and are quick to leave positive reviews for satisfying rewards or addictive mechanics. Negative reviews from frustrated players also contribute to the total count. Good game design attracts players with higher expectation for polish, innovation, or depth. These players may only leave reviews if the game exceeds or fails their expectations significantly. This can be true. The paradox of popularity. Games with dopamine-driven designs often generate polarizing opinions, resulting in both a high volume of positive reviews and negative ones, for being exploitative or shallow, or for being fun and addictive. This controversy can fuel discussions and increase visibility, which indirectly leads to even more reviews. Example, Clicker Heroes, Warframe, CSGO have massive... I don't know if CSGO is like a dopamine, you know, exploitative game. I don't know. That's a very skill-based game. I don't know. I don't know, but ChatGPT. You could have picked many other games. So the long-term view, good game design games often enjoy higher user ratings and long-term sales growth through the word of mouth. Okay, ChatGPT. But in the current real world, war, video games are mostly known. No, we need to phrase this correctly. But in the current market, influencers are more beneficial than word of mouth. Wouldn't be better to make low quality dopamine centric games rather than spending more time to release a high quality game for less visibility. You raise a valid point. In the current gaming market, influencers and digital marketing campaigns with immense power in driving visibility. Bro, you need to let me read these things. In driving visibility and sales, often overshadowing traditional word of mouth. This dynamic can indeed make low quality dopamine centric games appear more viable in the short term. However, the decision to pursue such a strategy depends on several key factors. Oh, he's gonna tell me, oh, your morals, we know that. Influence compatibility. Many influencers focus on easy, digestible, highly engaging games that generate immediate entertainment value for their audiences. Games with dopamine-driven mechanics like Among Us or Fall Guys during their peaks can achieve viral success if influencers embrace them. However, maintaining momentum is difficult, and the market can quickly shift to the next big thing. Sure, for instance, Vampire Survivor was very, very well streamed. Twitch was like full of people. And if you look now, it's basically 10 people or whatever. That obviously falls off. If you go and look for Dark Souls games, it's probably a very consistent number. Monetization opportunities, don't care. Lower development costs. Building a game around proven mechanics with simple designs and engagement loops can be quicker and cheaper than crafting a deeply immersive experience. Risk. While these games can be lucrative, They often experience short lifespans. Player interest wanes rapidly without constant updates or fresh content, requiring significant ongoing investment to maintain relevance. Long-term potential of high-quality games. Sustained appeal, critical acclaim and awards, brand reputation. Key consideration in choosing a strategy: we don't care. Long-term sustainability: if you want to establish a respected brand or a loyal community, investing in high-quality games is more strategic. If your goal is to quick revenue with minimal upfront investment, dopamine-driven games may be a better fit. The industry has seen some backlash against overly monetization games, low-quality games. Diablo Immortal. Oh, that's so funny. ChatGPT, I love you. That's true though. Or Genshin Impact criticism. Yeah, and they're still raking millions. Showing that the player expectations for ethical design are quality growing. Yeah, I don't think you understand. Making low quality dopamine driven games might seem like the easier path. Look, however, but Genshin Impact, even even though went through some backlash, all sparked by one guy, Tecton, who actually spent I don't know how much money, but that's more than I can count on my fingers, to get one stuff, which I got on the second 10 pool. But I digress. He spent a lot, so that's why we got PTs. I like to think, but I think it's some kind of EU stuff. Regulations for games. Some backlash still manages to make millions. So reputation doesn't seem to impact sales. And for indie developers, there is not much room for high risk, high quality games. Would that... Okay, let's go with that and see what... hence, game developers will focus more on low quality games. Highly addicting games, on highly addicting games. You're absolutely correct that financial success. I think ChatGPT is just circle jerking me at this point. You're absolutely correct that the financial success doesn't always align with reputation. And games like Genshin Impact demonstrate how a well-executed dopamine-driven model can generate massive profits even amid backlash. For indie developers, the high-risk nature of crafting high-quality niche games can seem unviable compared to the immediate returns of engagement-focused design. Let's break this down further. Yeah, this is the time we figure out that you cannot purchase oranges with high quality games. You need money. While reputation may not impact sales, audience size. Game like Genshin Impact cater to a global audience, leverage accessibility, cross-platform availability and frequent updates. A strong marketing budget and an ongoing support makes it difficult for reputation hits to significantly harm profitability. Engagement loops outweigh criticism. Many players prioritize the immediate enjoyment and progression systems over ethical concerns or gameplay depth. The dopamine cycle is powerful enough to sustain player bases despite backlash. New audience acquisition. Even if some player leaves due to dissatisfaction, a steady influx of new players is driven by advertising, blah blah blah. In many markets, monetization practices like gacha mechanics are more accepted or even expected. The challenge for indie developers. Indie often don't have the resources to create games with the polish, content depth, or ongoing updates of AAA titles. This makes it harder to compete directly in either the high quality or dopamine centric game categories. Without significant marketing budgets or influencers outreach, even the best indie games struggle to gain visibility in a crowded marketplace. True, indie developers are often expected to deliver unique, creative, and polished experiences, yet they lack the resources to take major risks without facing potential financial failure. why indie developers still gravitate towards addictive games. Low entry, fast prototyping, viable monetization, and influencers appeal. Simple. Addictive games can go viral more easily when picked up by influencers, as they provide immediate entertainment and are easy to showcase. Alright, balancing the reality with creativity, yeah, that's sure. Hybrid approach combining dopamine-driven game mechanics with a layer of depth or creativity to appeal to both casual and dedicated players. Example, Hades blends roguelike addiction with high-quality storytelling and visuals. Slay the Spire offers repeatable deck building alongside challenging strategies. Scalable game design. Start with a smaller, focused game that uses addictive mechanics to capture attention, then build depth and quality through updates. Vampire Survivor is a recent example of an indie game that started as simple and addictive but grew into a critical and commercial success. Yeah, that has nothing to do with depth though. You just say capture attention, which is the first part of the sentence, but grew into critical and commercial success because you had influencers and a broader reach. There is no quality through updates. You have no depth. Target niche communities, whatever. Leverage emerging platform, we don't care. Ethical game design, we don't care. Final thoughts. It's true that the current market dynamics incentivize addictive dopamine-driven games over high-quality, risky projects, especially for indie developers. However, this doesn't mean quality and creativity are dead. Duh! Many developers succeeded by finding a balance between accessibility, engagement, and innovation. The key for indie developers is to focus on manageable scope and development cost. Use addictive elements to capture attention, but back them with meaningful design. Seek alternative monetization models and niche audiences to reduce reliance on manipulative practice. I don't know what this means. Probably find a publisher? I don't know. Would you like guidance on incorporate? No. Okay, if what we say here is true. I do not agree with some sentences of this, but what can we expect in the future? Given how the attention span has shortened due to high exposure to social media apps and dopamine centric. I think dopamine centric games are a consequence of the high exposure to social media. To social media apps. Do you think we can expect more dopamine centric games to be released rather than high quality games? Specifically from indie developers, because AAA companies do their thing. It's like Hollywood. They live in their own world. Yes, the shortening of attention span due to the pervasive influence of social media apps and instant gratification culture has indeed influenced the gaming industry. It is reasonable to expect more dopamine-centric games to emerge, especially from indie developers as they cater to these shifting audience preferences. Here's why this trend may dominate and what it implies for the future of indie gaming. Catering to short play sessions, social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts have conditioned users to prefer short, high-reward content bursts. Dopamine-centric games with fast-paced mechanics, roguelikes, idle games, hyper-casual mobile games align well with these habits. Lower development costs. Of course, they cost less to make, so that's easy. High virality potential. Games that are easy to pick up and play are more likely to go viral when featured by influencers or streamers. This aligns with the indie need for cost-effective marketing. We saw that with the old Stray. Well, Stray is not a dopamine addicting game, but we saw the influence of streamers and what it can do to indie games. Mobile-centric growth. Many indie game developers target mobile platform where dopamine-centric games thrive due to the nature of the on-go bite-sized gaming sessions. Audio preferences. Younger gamers who've grown up with social media are more likely to favor games that deliver instant gratification, shorter commitment times, and social sharing opportunities. And you can see that. Because when you see someone who's relatively young and they cannot find something that is actually on the screen and they go, "What is that?" And they cannot take 5 seconds to look at the screen to see what like a button is. This is telling of the future of games. Challenges for high quality games. It's not their fault. They're just born into this society. Challenges for high quality games. The time investment versus payoff. High quality games that require long play sessions, learning curves, or deep emotional investment may struggle to compete with quicker alternatives for players' limited time. Marketing and visibility. High quality indie games often rely on word of mouth and niche communities, which may take time to grow. In contrast, dopamine centric games can gain traction more quickly due to their immediate appeal. Evolving expectations. Player accustomed to the fast, repetitive rewards of social media or dopamine driven games may find slower paced, narrative heavy titles less engaging. Can high quality games still succeed? Yeah, this is obviously yes. Segmented spirits? Yeah, we know that. Shut up. The likely future, a mixed landscape. Oh my god, this is the most neutral take, and probably the true one. The indie game market is likely to split into two different dominant approaches: dopamine centric games and hybrid or high quality games. More indie developers will embrace short term, high reward mechanics, especially in the mobile or hyper casual spaces. These games will cater to trends driven by social media behaviors and target mass audiences. A smaller subset of developers will focus on creating high quality games tailored to niche audiences or designed to bridge the gap between dopamine driven engagement and meaningful gameplay. Implication for game developers. Adaptation. Game developers who want to stay competitive will need to integrate some form of instant gratification mechanics even in high quality games to capture attention. True. Uh, Path of Exile, Diablo 2, Diablo 3. Well, Diablo 3 I did not like, but Diablo 2 was very deep, high quality, absolutely. But it had this instant gratification of going there, kill a boss, get the loot. Innovation indies that focus on creative ways to retain players while delivering depth, blah blah blah. Ethical consideration, we don't give a shit. Would you like advice on designing a game that balances dopamine mechanic with meaningful design or insight? No. I think that what we can expect is more of this. So, with that being said, uh, what can we say? Yeah, the conclusion are quite easy. Can we conclude? What can we conclude about the gaming landscape from our chat? From our discussion, several key conclusions can be drawn about the current and future gaming landscape, particularly as it relates to game design trends, player behavior, and market dynamics. The dominance of dopamine-centric games, market incentives. The gaming industry increasingly rewards dopamine-driven design as these games align with modern player behaviors influenced by social media, shorter attention spans, and instant gratification culture. Indie strategy. Indie developers constrained by resources often gravitate towards dopamine-focused games because they are cheaper to develop, easier to market, and more likely to achieve viral success with influencers and casual players. Very important, AAA games, even larger studios, are adopting these mechanics to maximize engagement and monetization, as seen in live service games and gacha systems. High quality games face challenges but aren't obsolete. There's a niche appeal, slow growth, evolving design. And yeah, they're not obsolete, but they're definitely a minority. That's what it's trying to say. Influence driven marketing shapes success. Visibility over quality. The rise of influencers driven marketing has shifted the focus from long term reputation and quality to immediate entertainment value and accessibility. Indie reliance. Indie developers lacking major budgets benefit from designing games that are easily shareable, entertaining to watch, and quick to understand. Sustainability concerns. While this approach drives early success, it can lead to player fatigue or the need for constant content updates to maintain engagement. That's why you constantly see new characters in gacha games. Money and engagement. Ethical considerations are growing. Exploitation versus engagement. The prevalence of manipulative designs in dopamine centric games has drawn criticism, with some players seeking alternatives that respect their time and money. I see that with some indie games I've played. Opportunity for indies. Developers who prioritize ethical game design, balancing fun, engagement, and monetization may carve out a loyal audience dissatisfied with exploitative practices. True, but I wonder how many there are. A split in the gaming landscape, fast-paced addictive games focused on casual players, shorter sessions and immediate rewards, dominated by mobile games and high quality. Yeah, we said that many times. The future. Hybrid models, most successful games will likely combine dopamine loops with high quality design, offering both immediate engagement and lasting value. Again, Path of Exile. Shifting trends as player awareness of manipulative practices grows, there may be a gradual return to games that emphasize meaningful design alongside addictive mechanics, and we don't care about innovation because that's crap. Final takeaway. The gaming landscape reflects a tension between immediate gratification and long-term value. While dopamine-centric games dominate due to their mass appeal and alignment with modern habits, there is still a place for high-quality, innovative games that foster deeper connection with players. Developers must adapt to market realities while staying true to their creative vision and ethical principles. Would you like to explore? No, but I think we can end this here and say thank you, ChatGPT, for the discussion. Have a nice day. You're welcome. Thank you for engaging in discussion. Your questions were thoughtful and insightful. Have a fantastic day, and if you ever want to chat about games or anything else, feel free to drop by. No, that's why I have friends. I have friends. You see, okay, you get it. I have friends. Thank you. I appreciate the offer, Mr. AI. So we got a lot of questions. There's a lot of food on the table. Hopefully that will help you get get a little bit more awareness on how the current gaming landscape is exploiting you and even the influencers are exploiting you. And hopefully you get enough self-value to realize how valuable your time is. Because this dopamine-centric landscape is not good for us gamers, for the people, and it's only good for those who profits from it. That's it. There's literally no progress to be made in video games. So, hopefully this clarified a lot of questions. So, the points were quite simple. In the games, bad game design focus on catchy games that can get the streamer attention because you lack the means to make quality games. And even if you make quality games, you may have more loyal followers, but it takes years to make a good quality game to have like a fourth of the reviews or the sales potential from an addictive game. By the time you've made like one high quality game, you could have made like five, six, seven highly addictive games and made more profit. But this has been a nice discussion. Hopefully you got something out of it, and I hope you have a good day. And always remember, take this with a bit of grain of salt because this is ChatGPT. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.